Hey guys, you're watching Dirt Bike Channel. I'm your host, Kyle Brotherson, and today we're going to talk about the new 2017 KTM off-road lineup. Well, I said it last week. I figured after Husky, announced they had kind of reworked their off-road lineup, I said KTM was going to do it this week, and they have. A lot of you thought that I was on crack cocaine last week because I was so excited about the Husky bike, so I'm going to try to take it down a notch this week so I don't freak so many of you guys out. But essentially, there's been some major changes to the 2017 KTM off-road lineup. I mean, if I had to kind of sum it up in just a couple of sentences, I would say that they've added some new two-stroke bikes to both their MX bikes and their off-road bikes, and they've also taken away some of the four-stroke bikes. Specifically, there was going to be no more XCF-W bikes. Those are the four-stroke bikes with the wide ratio transmission. Those are gone for 2017. You can still get there's plenty of two-strokes in that lineup, but they've taken away some of those four-strokes. Probably the biggest news of all is the fact that the 250 two-stroke and the 300 two-stroke are getting an all-new motor. Now, in classic KTM fashion, they are sort of contradicting themselves. They've given out some information to all the media outlets, and these media outlets have a ton of information about these bikes. And then on KTM's own website, they're sort of contradicting themselves and saying, oh, it's not a new motor, it's this. But that's something that they did last year. They kind of had their website kind of messed up for a few days last year while they updated all these things. So I'm going to go ahead and trust what the magazines and the news outlets have said about this stuff, because there's no way they could have made up as much stuff as they have on these bikes. So here's a couple of more bullet points for you. Basically, the 250SX is the motocross version of, that's the motocross version of these bikes, these two-stroke bikes, and that same platform, the frame and essentially the motor, the new motor, is going into the 300XC and the 250XC. And that frame also gets to go in the 300XC-W and the 250XC-W. And then they've added to the lineup a 150 XC-W. So gone is the 200 XC-W, and now we're going to get a 150 XC-W. So I think that's going to actually be pretty dang cool. Here are some of the highlights for the 300XC, the two-stroke bike that I like probably the very most out of the entire lineup. And a lot of these things are also going to happen. A lot of these things I'm going to mention are going to be standard as well on the 250 XC-W or the 250XC, as well as like the 450 XCF and the 250 XCF and the 350 XCF. So here you go. The two strokes are getting a 38 millimeter Mikuni carb. That's the same thing that's happening with the Husky bikes. They're dropping the key in carburetors and they're bumping up to a 38 millimeter Mikuni carb. They're getting new motors. 300XC and the 250XC and the W models are getting the new two-stroke motors. Basically, it's got an all-new architecture with a new shaft arrangement, they're calling it, to have kind of better mass centralization to reduce some of the vibration. That means you're getting a new cylinder on there as well. So it's going to be pretty dang cool. They're trying to use a lateral counterbalancer that reduces engine vibrations. These engines should have less vibrations than the two strokes that we've had in the past. You're getting a new cylinder. You're getting a new frame, which I love the new frame of these bikes. I've got a 2016 250 XCF, and I think that is the best frame I've ever ridden. They're also going with an air fork. It's the AER fork. Now, I think the reason why they're doing this is the 4CS fork wasn't super highly loved by everyone in the industry. I loved it, but not everyone did. And this new air fork is going to be 3.1 pounds lighter than the 4CS fork. So I don't know. Jury's out. Some of the time we're going to have to figure out if we like the air fork, but regardless, it's here, and it's going to be light. Also, you get a new rear shock that's going to be perfectly, they're saying, matched up to the air fork on the front. You're getting a new shifter that's harder to clog up with dirt. They call it like a no-dirt shifter or something like that. They're also giving you a 10 millimeter longer rear brake pedal, and they're saying they're giving less aggressive brake pads to provide better modulation. And then here's the big news. Now, this isn't uber confirmed, but the reports are that the 300XC is going to be 209.4 pounds. That is 12.6 pounds lighter than the 2016 version. And if that is true, that's going to be revolutionary. Because that bike will be extremely light. They're also putting out a 2017 150SX and a 125SX. So there's two. They're adding a couple of bikes into their motocross version. I know this is about off-road bikes, but they're adding a 125SX and a 150SX. So that's pretty sweet. As far as for the 450s, speaking of the 350 XCF and the 450 XCF, basically they're getting, I think, the same motors from last year. They're calling it a new dual overhead cam engine on the 350 XCF. They're saying it's 2 pounds lighter. I don't know. I think that might still be the same motor from 2016. But one thing that is definitely happening is that you're getting an engine control unit that uses launch control on your off-road bike. You can use launch control, and it's got different engine maps according to the gear selector. So it's going to, modify the power, modulate the power depending on what gear you're in. And up there on your left thumb, you're also going to get a handlebar map select switch and traction control. That's going to be on your 4-strokes for sure. The 250 XCF, the 350 XCF, and the 450 XCF. The prices of these bikes, yes, they're expensive. The 450 XCF is going to be about 10 grand. The 350 is like $100 cheaper, just 10 grand. So I guess the 450 is like 10.1. The 350 is essentially 9.9. The 250 drops a little bit. When you get down to the 300 2-stroke, you're basically $9,100, which is expensive. These bikes are all expensive, but to give you a comparison, the 2016 version of a Honda CRF 450F is $8,700. The Yamaha YZ450FX is $8,900. So a 300 XC is essentially $200 more than last year's Yamaha, their big flagship. So Yamaha's bikes are going to go, Yamaha, KTM, Honda, Kawasaki, they all go up every year. Anyway, so big news with KTM here today. Again, you're getting a new motor in the 250 2-stroke and the 300 2-stroke. You're getting more 2-strokes actually, and fewer 4-strokes. So you tell me what KTM is doing there. I know that some of the 4-stroke guys are going to be upset that they've lost their wide ratio transmission 4-strokes, like the 350 XCF-W and the 450 XCF-W. Those things are gone. But you are getting, they're basically evening out the lineup, having almost as many 2-strokes in their lineup as 4-strokes. So pretty cool stuff, and we're excited to see what happens with these bikes and to get more information about what's going on with them. And thanks for tuning in, guys. That's pretty much it.